Hello and welcome back to episode 10 of the King's College Junior School Sport Podcast. Here we are, double figures. It's our birthday, the 10th episode. We've made it. I've got Mr. McCausland next to me. He's got what looks like a latte on the go and also a bowl of cereal. We're recording Thursday morning. Wounded soldier in action yesterday. He's back. I know the boys were asking after you. I'm McCluskey. This is McCausland. Are you well, sir?
Good morning, Mr. McCluskey. I'm a lot better than I was on Tuesday. That's for sure. Operating about 50 to 60%, somewhere around there. Classic case of the man flu. It's that time of the year, isn't it?
Well, it's great to see you back. I mean, even though the moustache is obviously taking centre stage, but there's definitely a bit of, I don't know what we'd call it, 10 o'clock shadow around the gills.
There is a little 10 o'clock shadow. The mo, actually, I feel like 2.5 to 3 weeks is about my prime time. After that point, we start getting a bit of the colouring that you wouldn't want. The strawberry blonde, I think it's referred to over here.
Yeah, interesting, because actually I would totally agree. I'm looking at you right now. I mean, it is incredibly strawberry blonde, as is mine. Mr. Cheers, Mr. Connolly, Mr. Brady, we've all basically shown that we're closet gingers. It's come out singing and dancing.
It has. It must be all that sun, or that London's that autumn sun.
All that well-known UK sun this time of the year. Well and truly in November. It's been blowing an absolute gale last night, rain, but we are going to march on regardless. A quick Mogress report. Again, many thanks to all those people who have donated. The moustache is looking phenomenal. I did turn around to a parent in the under-15 rugby team on Saturday. He complimented me on the moustache. And I said, Mr. Chamberlain, that's incredibly kind of you. I've gone for the RAF look. To which he just looked at me deadpan and went, absolutely not. And it was like a dagger in the heart. I was really gutted. So I'm going to be trimming it up over the weekend, see if we can nail on that RAF look. But Mogress report, sir?
Like you said, incredibly generous donations. It's great to see the commitment of the teachers as well. A mate at home told me about a few of his colleagues bailing, 1 week, 1.5 weeks in. A bit of pressure from home, he's been reporting, but stoked to see the likes of Mr. Anderson and Mr. Thomas, who were a little bit flaky at the start of the month, it might be said. Boy, oh boy, they've come on strong.
Yeah, they've stuck at it, which has been great to see. I actually thought Mr. Thomas was going to fall by the wayside after about 2 weeks. He has clung on to it. Don't get me wrong, he's got some kind of designer chin strap beard on the go, so he hasn't gone full moustache. I'm hoping, at least for the last couple of days of November, we're going to see a real good slug across the top lip from Mr. Thomas. So that's enough about moustaches. I have to say, next week we've been promised Mr. Connolly down in Rushmere. Many of you will know Mr. Connolly, first form tutor, big presence on the games field. And he said he's going to join us on the podcast for an Ashes and Tashes special. Excited?
Excited indeed. He's actually head of Norman House as well, Mr. McCluskey, which is worth noting.
Oh, and conveniently.
Especially in light of the topic of today's podcast.
Just, really, I mean, many people have asked, do we script this? We don't. Conveniently, you brought us on to what is going to be the topic for our podcast today, house sport. We've been well and truly in the thick of it. House rugby, house football. We've had some cross-country events as well, and we've still got more to come. I mean, as we record live now on Thursday, this afternoon under 11 house football, Mr. Butcher heading that one up, and that's going to be on the school fields. Next Tuesday, the Priory house cross-country event for third form, and we've got lower remove and we've got upper remove. And then on Friday, we've also got our under-10 house football as well. So massively, massively looking forward to these events. Head of Windsor, my co-host, talk to me. What's been going wrong?
I see at the moment we're currently 4 points behind Tudor, who are out in front on 19. Stuart and Norman, 18. And Windsor, as we just said, bringing up the rear. We can see the whole field. We're on 15 points there. It hasn't been a lack of commitment from the Windsorians.
No, here. I am a Windsorian myself. I try and stay impartial for the sport, but the boys have definitely been turning out for the yellow, haven't they?
You've not done a great job of that, Mr. McCluskey, but there's no bars held here. No, it hasn't been for a lack of effort. Even though I've been scoring for a lot of it, I haven't managed to doctor any results in our favour, or many results, should I say, in our favour. The transition cross country at this stage looking a real highlight, picking up 4 points.
Yeah, fantastic effort by those boys. Our youngest boys, they absolutely stormed it, didn't they, round the common?
They did. They actually finished second in the football as well, so it looks like a strong a strong transition group coming through, which bodes well for future house events.
Yeah, and looking at that, I mean, Miss Attier will be absolutely over the moon. Tudor flying high at this point. I mean, they've just got to turn up, haven't they? And they'll finish the term really strongly.
I have to say, it's not there on the spreadsheet in terms of house points, but I would say Miss RTA is actually winning the house board as well. I feel like her board's the nicest and tidiest. It's my first year in the role, and if I'm looking to pick anything up, it's not going to be from Mr. Brady or Mr. Connolly.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. I mean, if any of your houses or bedrooms are anything to go by compared to your house boards, my word, you need to get an interior decorator. And Miss Attier absolutely storming on the Tudor house board. You fellas, no finesse whatsoever.
No.
And enough on that. But no, it's been a fantastic last couple of weeks. The boys certainly get in behind their house sport. The rugby we commented on, I think last week, whereby we said some of the tackles, some of the hits that were going on were actually much bigger and much greater than we'd see in a school fixture. So there's a lot of pride there. And I've certainly asked the under-12 rugby lads to transfer some of that into their school fixtures moving forward, you know, to have that pride about how they're playing for Kings. They clearly just love the house system.
And it's great to see the parental support out there as well. It really does add to the event.
Yeah, incredible. I won't mention any names, but there were a couple of parents on the finish of the cross country running in with their sons or boys in their house. So putting in a 50 metres, 100 metres to try and spur the boys on. Incredible commitment.
Special stuff. Once again, won't mention any names, but I've seen in the last week 2 of the best try-saving tackles by schoolboys or by anybody, in fact, that you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, just unbelievable. And the one that springs to mind was in the under-12 house tournament.
That one.
Where a certain individual, and if there are any boys listening to this, they will remember it gave away 10 metres, and you would argue, actually, you know, gave away pace as well, and just hunted down the opposition winger and put him into touch, and the celebration at the end was something to behold.
Absolutely. If it wasn't inspirational for the rest of his teammates, they're playing the wrong game.
Yeah, love that. Now, just moving away from house sport and just going around the houses a bit, like we try and do. I'm just going to touch on the Rugby League World Cup. You know, a favourite event of yours, Mr. McCausland. Obviously, last week you mentioned how much you love the Rugby League World Cup. Anything to update the parents and the boys listening? Nothing whatsoever. I'm not sure that's quite right, because I logged onto my BBC Sport app and I noticed that New Zealand are out. Can this be true?
Yeah, we're bailed out in the quarterfinal by Fiji on home soil. Nothing short of a disgraceful result. Even more disgraceful than that was the manner of our captain afterwards, who said it wasn't much of a negative for us and that it was good for the game. So, I mean, it's hard to argue that it is good for the globalisation of rugby league and making the World Cup a more competitive event. But for him to come out with that tone immediately after the loss, I mean, we should have been absolutely devastated, and he just didn't seem that upset.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I totally agree. It's fantastic for the neutral, fantastic for an England fan, and of course for me. You know, I'm fortunate enough to work with you, see you every day, so I can remind you of it. But great to see Fiji going well. We were playing Papua New Guinea. And a substandard performance, but we still managed to get through in the quarter-final. I do hope that the competition sparks into life in the semis and the finals. I do hope that the right teams are in there to create great games. But you know what? If Fiji go all the way to the final, bring it on. Why not?
Absolutely. Well, if they'd have to beat England for that to be the case. So that's humble of you to say that.
Yeah.
I would personally. Tonga can potentially upset the Australians. It'd be an enormous upset, but it could possibly happen. You look at the talent in their side; they've got easily the best player in the world at the moment. In terms of a forward, Australia definitely have the upper hand in the backs. But if there's, if the conditions aren't great and the backs, perhaps their flair is reduced somewhat by the conditions, that definitely brings the game more into Tonga's favour. And I would love to see them tip the Australians up.
Oh, wouldn't we all? I mean, I saw Mr. Beattie the other day. I know he's been keeping one beady eye on it. I also saw him last night walking the corridors in a pair of skins leggings, shorts over the top, a hoodie as well. I mean, I don't know whether he was going skateboarding, BMX riding or playing basketball. He seemed to suggest he was going to the gym. I mean, it's cold. It's November, don't get me wrong, and he's from Queensland.
He's about 6 weeks late for the Multisport podcast.
Isn't he just? But my word, I mean, skins, leggings underneath shorts like that from a man of his age, we don't want to see the likes of that around the King's corridors, do we?
No grudges held there.
Well, I certainly let him know. First day of the Ashes today. A lot of the staff got up early this morning, went to bed late last night. Saw Mr. Horton walking the corridors with it playing on the radio this morning. We're not going to comment too much. There's been a rain interrupted day, but we're looking forward to next week, catching up with that with Mr. Connolly. Derby County going tremendously well. A 2-1 victory in the week and then 1-1 against Fulham on the weekend. The Rams are absolutely flying. West Ham, anything on West Ham?
Only that I don't know the result from the last weekend, but up until that point, we've been on the improve.
On the up. But no, the Rams are flying, and I know you'll all be keen to know about that. But that's it for this week. Plenty of house sport, plenty of support. The term is finishing strongly. We've got rugby coming up. We've got a great fixture under floodlights against RGS Guildford next week. So thanks very much for your support on the touchline. Thanks for your support on the podcast. Final words from Mr. McCausland.
Thanks for your support also for the Movember cause.
Yeah, fantastic. And we look forward to speaking to you all very soon.